Welcome back, you guys. This is Peter, and joining me on this episode, he's returning for the Cobra Kai podcast, but obliterated. He's probably a new face and voice to the new fans of the Netflix show. Frank Helmer, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Good to see you again, Peter.
Yeah, good to see you as always. And always, I love to pick your brain. For those that are interested, you've been on at least a couple times on the Cobra Kai Companion podcast, and
Yeah.
you have shared your story and also some of the other previous work you have done prior to Cobra Kai. Um, so season five came out a while ago. It's probably going to be another while till we actually get a season six. So I'm happy that you're joining to discuss some of the looks back from season five. Uh,
Mm.
One of the early images that we got from season five, and I think a lot of people had a good time with it, was Johnny's FBI shirt. Um,
Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
give me any insight on that one, I think that's a pretty classic shirt for those that remember seeing something like that at like a Spencer's or a Hot Topic back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, and it's something that we created. Like I screen printed that myself. We made some slight modifications to it just to really sell the joke of it. And it became. It's funny when I love when costumes become part of the plot device because that was sort of like it says FBI, thinking anybody who sees it or maybe doesn't have English as their first language would see just the FBI, go with it as that. But then you see the back female body inspector. So dumb, and like I created that sort of taking the mud flap chick, and making it into sort of something a little bit more like official looking. And just the idea that that would have been found in a gift shop on at a gas station along the way, and that Johnny would respond to that is like so hilarious to me.
It really is. It was really funny. I like to do little fan posters, and I highlighted Johnny in that t-shirt like in the picture too. So he stands out more than everybody else on the side. So I
That's
just thought
great.
it was really funny. In this one, we get an introduction of a new character, Hector. If
Mm.
you can discuss his look when he's walking around town in the suit in episode 502, but also Maria and Luis, who we also meet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Hector is just was like the king of the town, and we don't realize how deep his nefariousness goes until we get into a little further. So it was important for me to make him look like the richest man in town, but not a little bit flashy, but not too crazy. I wanted to reflect the culture of Mexico, where there's a little bit more flash than there might be in America or in another country, and just reflect the area that he was at. It was really fun to do that. The actor was amazing. He was super fun to work with and game for everything. And it was a really fun character to get to flesh out.
What about that really nice suit he's wearing inside the fighting arena?
Well, I mean, it's just like I drop some coin on things when I can. It's like yeah, it's a fun opportunity on in a show like ours. It's like there isn't a lot of place for real flashy stuff or really high end things, and so I like to make it also quite real when I have an opportunity to have a character who would dress a little expensively. I'd like to drop some money on it. I get to do that a bit with Daniel and the LaRusso family because they're a richer family in the story, but it's nice to have a little bit of opportunity to do some flash.
You mentioned the LaRussos. Let's transition. I would say with Amanda real quick. Specifically the crimson colored dress she wears to Terry's auction, and also the red dress that she wears to the party. Same a
Mm-hmm.
similar color there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was doing with Amanda this season or that season is loosening her silhouette up a little bit. We had her very body conscious, like a little bit more classic chic dresses in the previous seasons because she was spending a lot more time at running the dealership. And now that she's sort of like joined the scene, I like to loosen her up, following a little bit of like fashion trends as well. And she can wear anything and look amazing in it, but it's just fun to play with that a little bit to loosen her up, make her feel a little bit sexier, and Red, she's drawing attention. She's trying to become part of this bigger social group, and like she's putting a little flash out there, and as she should.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you teased that look when we spoke during season four, I believe it was. It was just something to kind of keep an eye out for. And I think once we
Mm-hmm.
saw whether, the footage or just the early pictures, I think we all knew that was exactly what you were talking about. I a lot of people who follow your interviews. They know that you often use colors to tell a story as well. I
Mhm.
do notice Daniel in his kind of iconic blues early on in the season, and we see a little bit more like purple in the second half. Is that kind of like reflective of like a little bit more balance in his character?
I think it reflects a bit of the balance is a tricky word in the canon of all this, but like I think it reflects for me. I was trying to reflect the alliance he has with Johnny, right? So
Mm.
it's sort of like he's not quite so aggressively Miyagi only. Like he has learned some things as Johnny has learned from Miyagi. He's learned some things from Eagle Fang, or but and you know through the by extraction Cobra Kai as well, because that's the root of Eagle Fang, honestly. And it was nice to reflect that with the clothing. You know, it's still essentially still inherently the Daniel LaRusso look, like the aesthetic, the shapes, the suits, the colors are a place where I can broaden it out a little bit and just reflect that he's having a bit of growth there. And I do that. I've done that with all the characters. You know, like when Samantha is bouncing between Cobra Kai and Miyagi and then Eagle Fang and all that, and like her colors that were very blue, started to get very pink, and then got a little bit purple, and then she got a little bit even warmer tones, and then back to the middle, and then it's just been nice to do that with all the characters in there. With
What
Amanda
about
too, with the red dress, it was a little bit of a little bit of a nod that she doesn't know that she's stepping into literally the Viper's Den. But it is something where it's just there's an unconscious thing about that. So we don't know, is she gonna like if I'm leading you down a path, is she gonna like go Cobra Kai? Is she gonna like rebel against Miyagi entirely, or become an ally? It's just something fun to play with.
what about Carmen? I feel she is mostly purple in season 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, her color palette, I've tried to keep a little bit like neither nor, right? I like to keep her in her own particular world, because she is of course the closest ally to Johnny, but she is not like steeped in the same traditions as the other three, through all that, and it's been nice to like just kind of keep her in her own individual palette.
What about the dress that she wears in episode 9 and 10 of season 5?
I mean, awesome, right? I mean, it's like I get to show these characters reflecting. We'd never seen them in their party clothes, right? So it's like seeing, Yuji in his outfit, and also having to build in like the special pockets for the size to come out, and and just and all there's a lot of things that I think most people don't realize that we go. There's usually not so much with Carmen's dress, obviously, because they didn't really fight that much. But like when I've got characters fighting, there are like probably I think 7 of those crane shirts, like and the jackets and all these things. And there was jackets that I built for Yuji specifically, that had the size built in, but for most of the time they're not in there. It's a bit of like movie magic, so they're not weighing the jacket around and flapping about, but they're built so you can see it inside. There's the bit, and it's for on camera. It's really fun. But I mean, Carmen was a super fun to like find the right dress for her that is like sexy. Still, I still like to keep things. One thing that bugs me in TV shows is when you have a character of a certain socioeconomic class, right? You have certain like she's a nurse. She lives in a modest apartment. She's like they're not wealthy. She's a single mom, blah 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 blah. So she's not gonna go out and drop $1,000 on a ball gown, or something really extravagant. I find things that look amazing, and reflect the character, but also would be reasonably within her means. There's been times. I mean, I guess it's also something that I noticed, because I know clothes, and I can see if someone is playing a school teacher and then they waltz out in front, in a Gautier dress. It's sort of like, are you kidding me? Like, she's not wearing Versace. That's even knockoff Versace. That's real Versace. It's like that. It bugs me. So I like to keep them in a certain realm, but it's again, my job is defined by the character. That's what I like to lead with.
You mentioned Yuji. I think that's another great transition to the character of Chosen. We see him in so many different wear. I love the suit that Yuji is wearing. Him and Thomas in episode 2 when they're at Silver's mansion. Can you talk about those two suits in particular, because the colors are contrasting?
Right. I mean, it's that's also where he's like, he's trying to pull the wool over his eyes. He's trying to like, go in through the back door. And so he's dressed himself up. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. It's funny. Chosen was always I was talking about the first season when I had my first fittings with Johnny, the character playing Johnny Lawrence, and how I don't often get flustered by celebrities, but that was one where it was he's such an iconic part. He was the bully, and he was the cool guy, but he was scary, but he was also like attractive. It was like I don't know. I was a little in my first fitting, it was sort of like, oh my god, Johnny Lawrence is my fitting room. And, and then of course he's just an actor, and we're co-workers, and we're doing other things, and Billy is very much, he's a great actor, so he becomes that Johnny Lawrence. It's not who he is, like, off camera. And the same thing too, I was thinking about with Yuji's character of Chosen in the original movie was like so slick and so mean and so like just like intense and stylish, and I thought he was one of the coolest characters I'd ever seen. And also a thing that started like a bit of my passion for costume design, because it's like the clothes say a lot about who he is, and like the chains, the open shirts, like the style of him was very specific and really great. And I like to emulate that with him. So all the choices I make for him are filtered through Chosen, right? I mean, Yuji is an incredibly sweet man. He's a great actor as well. And it's so nice to be able to to collaborate with him to create these things where he can step into this slick suit, tailor it perfectly, so he can still do what he has to do. And again, it's something where you've got a big fight scene that you have to move, you have to do these things. I can't have him in a totally restrictive suit that doesn't move. And I also am going to have stunt doubles. They're going to go in the water, and they're going to do all these things. So it's like it's about a house of cards sometimes to find the perfect thing. And silver again is quite easy too, because it's nice to buy really expensive things for him. And also piss off the producers a little bit when I'm coming in with well, I know it's an $800 suit, but I kind of got to get 6 of them. Sorry, but it's important.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Terry Silver doesn't wear cheap, and
No,
if
no,
I know this is your profession, but other people can spot that stuff too if they have the means to purchase, that type
sure,
of wardrobe. Yeah.
yeah,
There's one shirt I just kind of want to touch on. That's what I think one of one of my favorite chosen shirts. The first one I would say I believe is in episode 5. It's where we think Chosen had just gotten a call saying like, "Hey, Daniel's hurt," and so it looks like a bunch of different shaded browns and maybe dark oranges patches almost stitched together. I'm having a hard
yeah,
time. Okay,
yeah,
okay. So you know which one I'm
yeah,
talking about. That
yeah,
that
yeah,
one I like very much. Just maybe more so because of the colors, but also
yeah,
that Hugo Boss crane shirt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the my goal with him, because it's like in our timeline, Yuji's only or Chosen's only been in the States for not even a year, So and he's still and he ostensibly he's probably shopping for things, whatever. But it's like he's bringing his aesthetic. He's from Okinawa. He's always lived there. He's always and his style that was established in the original movie needs to be reflected in his current day. So I work really hard to find both materials and patterns and things that have a feeling that they could be from Okinawa, whether it's in the weight, because of it's a tropical climate there, so it's a lighter weight things. It reflects the shape that he's in, and the way that he dresses. Has a certain flair to it, but it needs to feel like it's from not quite from the U.S. Right? Finding these things, it can be a bit of a trick. That the first jacket you're talking about was something that was like, oh, that's it. This feels like I got it. I don't remember where it came from, but I remember I got this at a store in Atlanta where we shoot, but it's like this does not look like it's from there. This looks like it could be from somewhere else.
Yeah,
And the crane shirt, let me just tell you something about the crane shirt. That when I found that, I was like, oh my god, I love it. This is great. This is the perfect thing. It's a perfect thing for a party shirt. It's a perfect thing. Reflecting the Miyagi crane, technique and all these things. I love a little visual storytelling like that. And it is a Hugo Boss shirt. One thing most people don't really realize: a lot of pattern shirts are not made. They're cut out of the rolls of the fabric, which are printed, right? So the patterns move around, right? They're
mm,
not always exactly in the same spot every time, right? Hugo Boss, when they make a pattern shirt, this is a tip for any other costume designers or people who need to have 15 of the same shirt without losing their minds. Is that the patterns are identical. Like if you've got a pattern shirt, it's identical. So each of those cranes was identical. The lines were in the same place. The crane was in the same place. They're all in the same place. So I could buy 6 of them to be prepared for all the stunt work and know that they're going to be reliably all the same. That being said, I did have to hunt them down all over the state, all over the country. Like it's like I found one in Atlanta. And I had to have one shipped in from. I had two shipped in from LA. One came in from New York. Another one came in from like I want to say Miami or something. But it was like it was a hunt to find the multiples of that.
So you were the reason the rest of us couldn't find them.
Correct, exactly. I bought all of them. I bought the entire stock. Also,
Okay.
in some ways too, it's sort of like I like it. I like it when there's a certain thing. Of course, you know the time frame. By the time a show comes out, most things are not going to be like available in the stores anymore, or you might be able to find them like on Poshmark or something. It is fun to like. I know at least I've taken 8 of them out of circulation, so there's fewer of them to be actually had.
Right. Legacy characters Jessica Andrews and Mike Barnes. Mike Barnes, fantastic suit, throws everyone off a little bit
Mm,
when he reveals
mm,
that, like, no, yeah, this is my furniture store. He's
yeah.
dressed very nice for a furniture store owner, but also Jessica Andrews. Any insight on those two characters?
Well, Mike freaking Barnes. I mean, that is like every time you we say here is like all of everyone on the crew, everyone's always saying it's like Mike freaking Barnes. Well, we say the
Sure.
actual what
Yep.
Daniel says, but Mike freaking Barnes is like it was so fun to dress because it's like you know it also reflected kind of that character from the original movie. I like to reflect the DNA of the character's suit, so it's like he was this like even more flashy than Johnny. He was like even more established. He thought that he was his hero was Terry Silver. So it's like, you know, he's wanted to emulate that dress. And it's like, I think that just became part of him, even through the betrayal of how that original movie ended. So it was fun to kind of reflect that. And also like we wanted to show that he was successful and rich and like but also is he a mobster, is he like you know of course Daniel thinks he's going to chop someone's legs off when he's talking about a chair but and I don't know about you, I mean I have run into characters like that here at least in LA. I've run into characters and you know with the show set in Southern California, so you go to like some of these high-end stores, especially ones that cater to like more of a flashy personality, like and you see these people if you know there used to be this one crazy store, like furniture store on La Brea here in LA that was like, it was called High Tech Italian Contemporary Furniture. And it was like the craziest stuff. And you walked in there and it was like exactly what you'd imagine from like high tech Italian contemporary furniture. So it was like, it was the DV, it was a flashy shirt, silk. It was like the whole things. And I kind of based that character, I kind of based that way of dressing or Mike freaking Barnes on the people that I saw in there when I was like hunting for furniture for my house. I was like, oh, that's something to remember because someday I'm going to have like a furniture store owner that is like based on that kind of person.
And Jessica Andrews.
Jessica Andrews, she was just I mean again it's reflecting the original character. It's like taking the extrapolation of that. There wasn't a lot to really go deeper with her because she was so just that character is so pretty well fleshed out. So it just like reflected that person how they would be in modern times, you know, and it was right. She was lovely, so sweet to work with, and really fun to have those whole scenes with her. But there wasn't a lot of I didn't have to go too deep with that because it was a
Yeah.
pretty straightforward character.
I was just wondering because one of the reveals is that she's Amanda's cousin, so I wonder if there
Mm.
was maybe any connection in terms of if there was any story there, if they both came from a little bit of money, But so you were kind of just going off of the try to get 3 for her character.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they both feel relatively successful. I feel like Elizabeth Shue's character, like in that what was that season 4 when we had those season 3,
3,
season 3, right?
3. Yep.
So I feel like when we saw a glimpse into her, we saw a glimpse into Jessica's house, we saw a glimpse into Elizabeth Shue's house, and it's hers was a little nicer, a little richer. So I felt like they're just very solidly like upper middle class, you know, ladies who are doing fine and like don't have to worry about it. I didn't want to like I didn't want it to I wanted it to feel like they were kind of like every woman in a lot of ways and not especially rich or not especially poor or especially you know the subtext of that didn't really serve the storyline any, right? So it's like just
Right.
keeping them sort of on par is good rather than like you know a cousin rivalry. That's also too like a very sweet story of like you know we're cousins and you know I was the love interest but now you're the one who won out and like and there was no animosity about that. It was a kind of a nice thing to do.
Hmm. There's a the Kai episode, I believe 508 or 507. It was 508, I believe. But the look of the three senseis, so Chosen, Johnny, and Daniel in the tracksuits, I think that
Mhm.
threw a lot of people off. Like for me specifically, I thought that, oh, this is their way of getting around that they're closing down their dojos, but they're still going to kind of wear colors similar to their dojos.
Mhm.
So could you talk about those tracksuits?
I mean, the tracksuits, I wanted to put them all on an equal footing, right?
Mm,
And it was more about reflecting their personal styles and what tracksuits they would have bought, right? So it's like it's not so much that the and mostly just reflecting like, okay, this is what they're going to wear. They're no longer in their gis, right? They don't have this identifier of the dojos, but they're still their individual persons, right? So like Chosen's was a little flashier, a little brighter colors. Like Johnny's reflected like what he would have in his closet. The same thing with Daniel's, what he would have in his closet. So it really was just a reflection of that.
okay. Any looks of the kids like a Devon who we see her in like three different colored gis.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the younger cast members like Dallas and stuff. Anything you can remember about their looks?
I mean, it's really just again like it all depends on what dojo they're in and where they're at, and trying to develop who they are as people. We don't see them as kids, just as civilians a ton. And I haven't had an opportunity to really like flesh out their characters so much. It's really been about the dojos.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens in season six, myself, to see like where we go with them and what happens. I know that there's a lot of big things happening, and I'm really curious to see how much I get to develop of their life outside of karate.
Okay. And I think the last bit for Cobra Kai. Um, I'm sure this one's pretty simple, but like actually this the flashback with young Sato and Chosen, I'm assuming that's just
Mhm.
basically what they're wearing in the second movie, just like a newer version of it.
Right. No, exactly. It's imagining how I did base it on what we saw in the original movie, for Sato, and then Chosen. We just like I got to imagine what that dojo would look like for the kids,
Yeah.
and again try to make it look like it's a place of. Oh, I almost gave a spoiler for season six, uh, because I've got some plans. There's some good things coming in season six,
Okay.
that I know so far.
Um, and now the Ouroboros specifically, that episode 506, the look of Sensei Kim in the fist, but also the new look Cobra Kai gis where it's black and red. So the logo has changed between season
Mhm.
4 and 5. Can you talk
Yeah.
about those looks?
Well, I mean, it's reflecting like silver just taking over, and I wanted to have something that looked like it was. We're getting rid of all the old legacy Cobra Kai. It's like the DNA of Kreese is gone. He's been banished. He's like this is like Silver completely taking over with his original plan, which was the. I think that if the storyline in the original movie had been that they had managed to take over the valley, then that's probably where he would have had taken the direction, because you didn't have to compromise in any way. He didn't have he now it's his sole vision. And even going with Sensei Kim coming in, she's signing on to this, and as we know, it doesn't go exactly perfectly for all of them. So it's like it was fun to get to create. It's also great for me to get to create a new look for the canon. It's great to like, this is the new look for this particular dojo, or the iteration of Cobra Kai with Terry Silver in charge.
Hmm. What can you share about the introduction of Sensei Kim, what she's wearing, and is earrings? Would that be part of
Mm-hmm.
wardrobe too? I imagine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved, like, again, it's trying to reflect, like, with all of them when they come off that jet. I was so thrilled, and I wanted them to linger longer on, like, when they do. I'm glad I got that whole pan across all of them, but I wanted it again to look like they were not from America, right? Or that they were from all different parts of the world, or maybe they're all from Korea. Like, it's not very clear where they all came in initially, so it's like I wanted that to look like they were not flying in from Minnesota, or they weren't coming in from New York. It's like it had to have this thing. So taking the I use some Korean brands for the clothing. I find the jewelry that reflects that aesthetic, the accessories that reflect that aesthetic, and that was a really fun challenge for me as well. And also I really like Terry Silver's look in that scene too. And finding that, I found this the pendant that he made was a snake pendant that's featured in some of the poster work. Finding that was just sort of like this is like let's reflect that he's looking at Master Kim's world, and this is where it's coming from, and this is it's a bit. Can I say this? I think it's a bit of a red herring for season 6. I wanted to have it look like a sense of place, so that we if we go someplace else, it will look. I'll get to reflect that in that as well.